Welcome back, guys, to our new video. Well, in our series of video tutorial, this is going to be the seventh part of our application that we are writing on. So basically, if you have followed the sixth part of the video tutorial, so basically what we did was in our add job component, we basically were able to create our job. We basically able to process all the data into backend database, and then only thing that new. So basically, once we user click that submit button, then we have this. If the response from the server is okay, I mean everything is okay, we're able to submit the data. Then we'll have an ID here, job ID, and then we just display that successful message, the alert message to the user. And then basically after that we have this object called router, and it has a method called navigate. To the navigate into array of it, we can specify the route that we had configured earlier, if you remember. So we specify the path, and then this would be able to take us into our new view job. That's where we'll be providing a new functionality to our admin. So basically they would be able to see all the job in that particular area. Okay, so so I have this already filled out form ready to submit. I'm just going to go ahead and submit here. So it is saved into backend database, and then it is now. If I do OK here after that message, I'm being redirected into this new page called view job. That's where we'll be writing the code, and then just to be able to use the router, very first thing, just to recap it, you make sure you grab this router object from this package called Angular/router, and then of course once we acquire it, we need to inject that as a dependency injection, as a dependency here into our constructor, line number 47. So we define the private field called router and of data type router. Once that injection is done, we should be able to use it here, and we just tap into the navigate method provided by that object. Okay, that is all we have to do. So now next thing I would like to do is I would like to navigate. I want to slightly go back into the server side, into our controller API, and we need to modify a couple of things. So let me show you this one here. So right now, if I go into this our API called developer job, the endpoint, it basically fetches all the job that we currently have in the system as a JSON data here, right? So however, a lot of this information like job type ID, it has no meaning to the end user. Instead of this job type ID here, we would like to know job type name. So instead of like here industry ID, that 11 has no meaning to the end user, so we want to grab the industry name and stuff like that. So for the real demo application, it is okay to return the model to the end user, to the browser. But however, as your application becomes more bigger, and then before it really goes into production, it's always a good idea to return the view model, some construct called view model, instead of returning the model to the end user. So that is what we're going to do here. Okay, so instead of this guy, right now, just to make sure we are on the server side, as you can see, we are on the API side, developer jobs controller, and this method right here, this return all the job that we have in our system currently. So basically all this JSON data is returned by that API. So instead of this guy returning developer job, I would like to create a model view. So that's what we're going to return. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go and add a folder here, not into the client. Come in here and okay, I have to kill the application now because I need to write server-side code. Come in here and create a folder called view model. And into this view model, I'm going to add a new view model object. I'm going to name it as a developer job view. It's going to be a C# class code. It's a view. Okay, so I have a little class here. So this some of the property let's call developer job as an ID. Instead of typing, I can grab a lot of information from my developer job model right here, and we will just grab the one that we need. We don't need everything from here. For the ID, I'm gonna name it as a developer job ID. Job title is okay. We need company name, and we want the company address also. Let's do a name resolution. The salary range, I don't really care about remote option here. Instead of job type integer, I would like to actual name of the job type. So I'm going to say job type name instead of ID. Experience label is okay. So industry, I don't need the industry object here. I just, instead of industry ID, I'm going to return the industry name here. Company size, we can display that, in company type name. You don't need this property in this company type name, and just change the data type to a string. We don't need job description and a bunch of other things here. Okay, now our view model looks very simple. We have just job ID that is important we needed, job title, the company name, the salary range, we got address, job type, name, experience. Okay, I'm happy with this, lightweight models. But however, now to our developed job controller, instead of returning this guy, right, developer job, we're going to return the view here. That's what we're going to return, but it doesn't know where that resides, so we're going to do a name resolution here. Okay, but however, this guy right here, so now as you can see from here, it's returning just it's not really returning name that we need. It's just, for example, we need industry name, it's returning industry ID. We need a company name, it's returning company type. So we need to modify our SQL slightly. So in here, to the entity framework, we can use this method called include, and let's call it job. So use this lambda expression. We would also like to include the company address, because that way it pulls out the address information. And then we also like to use job type, and we're going to say include the industry, and then finally also include what is the job type, company type, I think. Yeah. Okay. So once, of course, like now it's returned the developer job as a model object, but we need to do a projection. So we can use a select. Well, this is not really tutorial about entity framework, but just since we need it. So here we're going to return new instance of developer job view. Okay. That's what, okay, this is the lambda expression, not equal. That's what it was complaining about. Okay, so far so good. So we basically now, we need to populate those properties of the view, of the developer job view. Let's start with the developer job ID. That would be just dev job.id. Company address, this would be job.company address. That should be okay. Company name, so if you have, like, of course, in a production level, basically you don't really have to do mapping by the hand, because there are a lot of software, third-party software or DLL that you can basically they do auto mapping for stuff like this. Because imagine, like, you have a huge amount, you work in a really complex form and you have huge amount of property do a mapping. So in this case, example is very simple. We can just type by hand, right? But like company type name, so basically we have job.company type, and we want the name property for this one. And experience label, industry name, the same idea. Job has the industry information, and we just want the name. I haven't set the job title yet. Let's go ahead and set job title also. Oh, okay. So when I wrote a model, I forgot to change the type for the industry name. It definitely should be string. It was integer. That's why I was complaining. Should be happy now. Okay. What else? Which property is missing now? Job type name. And finally, salary range. Okay, so this is how we want it. So basically, this one is even better, because, like, I will tell you why. Because when the SQL basically goes into backend database, it just select only the columns. For example, corresponding column for this property that is that way we just grab the whatever we need from the backend database. If we had used the model, it was fetching all the metadata and everything. We had a huge amount of payload. It's always a good idea, especially like if you're developing for the mobile application, then stuff like this is really, really important. So let's see. Let's make sure. Let me build this. Let me clear my SQL profiler here, and then you will see the query. It looks really neat now. It should be looking really neat, grabbing only the columns that we really care about. Okay, so the page is loaded. If I refresh this now, see this now the structure looks really good. We just have a developer job ID, and it has job title. It's coming out here. It's the company name, and our address is coming out. Okay, here's the salary range, and job type name, like a full-time experience level, and industry name is saying okay, it's a biotechnology, and company size, and same thing for the company name. Now our model, our JSON data is very neat. It just grabs the things that we really need. It doesn't grab any additional information. All right, that is the thing. That's the only changes we have to make in terms of server side. to implement that feature, to implement the job view feature for the admin. So now going forward, we'll be exclusively working in the client side, in the client app, in this client app folder. So the next thing I'm going to do, as you might have, we exactly follow the pattern that how we did. So we're going to define similar kind of model into our client. So into the client, here is our model. We have developer job already defined. So in here, let's create another object here. I'm going to use basically kind of copy this guy here, and then get rid of a lot of things that we don't need. And I'm going to say developer job view. You call this guy as to kind of reflect how our ID in the view model looks like. Job title is okay. Company address, that referring to address, is okay. Salary range, I don't really care about these two Boolean properties. This guy, job type ID, is a name, and then data type is going to be a string. Experience label we need, so it's going to be industry name, and of course this guy is string. Company size is number, that's okay. Company type name, and this is string. We don't need job description here. We're not going to display the job description because we will display a tabular formatted data. So we'll display that description, huge amount of text into a job detail when the user clicks the job detail link. Okay, this is our view in the client side. Basically kind of reflects how it is our view model is in the server side. Okay, so now let me go ahead and close everything, close over this, and then now let's go into our here is our view job component. This view job component, we don't have anything here right now. We just have the HTML and the CSS and the name of the class. So we need to import our model. Very first thing, let's let's grab some of the code from here. Here is our view job, and let's, from developer job file, we're just gonna grab developer job view. This is our view here, and now we can define a public property called, let's call it developer jobs, of type developer. It's going to be developer job view, array of that, right? This is what we will be using. Why it is complaining? Okay, that's good. Now we also need, because we also need our service here. We'll need to write our service, but even before that, let's write little constructor here. Okay, so in this particular, right now, to basically fetch those data from the API, from the server, from the server end REST point, we need to also import our service, because that's where we will be writing our API to fetch them. So let's look at here and how we did that. Okay, we need to import this service also. here is our model and here is our service. Into this service we'll be of course writing the method. Okay, so into this constructor we're going to do injection here. But as you remember, like if we in the very I think like first or second part of the tutorial, like we have this providers kind of properties. Whenever there is a need of that services in more than one location, we can basically let me see in here in add job. Do you see these providers into the component decorator right here? We use this because at that point we are just developing and this is only need we had. We can just display it here. But as you can see right now, that services now would be consuming by edit, delete, all the view, all of them. So as you can see, instead of this configuration doing in the component label, we can do this into this shared right here. So basically here. That way it could be shared by all the different components. So, but of course at this point they don't know where the developer service is, so we need to tell them where it resides. We need to import our service here. What we are here and okay, let me grab it from the add job component here. So of course this hierarchy doesn't make sense for him because the label, they're on a different label. So okay, now we can do injection, but still it couldn't find it. Let me take a look into it. Here's the services and they are shared. If I come out from here, that's what it is, and it should be able to. If I do this in services, okay, sorry guys, this should be the path because based on the label where we are. So we get out from our location and go to the app folder and then go to services, and that's where our file is residing. And from there we just basically import our API. And we basically into the provider we specify that. So this way we don't have to now basically do the configuration on each label. We don't have to do configuration on component label. So once that is done, we should be able to just do we just import it here, and then we don't have to do any dependency injection here. So I will call div data service of developer type data. So here is my data service, and I have to make this guy as a private here into the constructor, so it becomes available. So to be able to fetch this, we need to write some method here. Let's say this dev data service, and we'll say get all developer jobs. I'm just gonna, we have that code already defined into developer job, into add developer job. So basically it's gonna be exactly the same pattern. So I'm gonna copy this here, okay? Because all of them gonna return this the observable response. So instead of data service, it seems like I named it a little differently there. So it's that. I'm going to name this method as get all developer jobs. Of course, this method doesn't really exist in our API yet. We don't need console, it's for the something else. And then once we have subscribe, and here's the result, and we're going to cast that, instead of that, we're going to cast that as developer jobs view array of that. And just to see in the console, we can just say developer jobs. Okay. And if there is an error coming in, we'll handle that one too. Okay, of course, if we don't have this method, we have to go ahead and write this method into our service that we have already started using it. So here into our service, we're going to write new method. It's going to be a pretty simple one line of code. This is our base URL, but however, we need to specify our endpoint. Let's go into here. And then this is our endpoint here, developer jobs. Okay, now we have our method in the service. Let's go back into the client, view jobs. Okay, now they're happy. So at this point in the constructor, we basically face the data, and we have the subscribe method and bunch of the lambda, the arrow function. And if there's everything is good, we should have our developer jobs. All those data should be coming out. Otherwise, we have error handler here to handle the error. So if I run this one, at least in the console, I should and then go into view job. I should be able to see those into the console. Okay. But seems like we got issue already. It seems like we made a mistake or something. We'll find out. Let's see. Oh, no error. Okay, let's take a look. Yay, that's good. See, you see this one right here, array with the 7. So basically, those are the data that is coming out from the backend database here. So we have company ID. Everything that we wanted is here. Company size, whatever, all the data that we need. Okay, that is cool. So at this point, we have a data. Our server is returning data. Our client side, Angular service is returning data fine. So at this point, we are ready to write our API. No, sorry, not the API, our HTML in the binding. So let's go and write some HTML. So I'm going to close all of them that I don't need anymore. I'm going to leave this, close all but this, that's okay. And then I'm going to open this view job component HTML. That's where we're going to write our tabular structure. Let's give a container class of Bootstrap here, and then we're going to write our ngIf directive, and we're just basically going to follow the pattern. Into our TypeScript file, we have this public property developer job here. Let's write some robust code. If developer job is there, and this array has a property called length, if there is a data into that object, we're gonna have this block of code displayed. I'm gonna say it's a row, and inside here, let's write down a little table. In table header, so let's see. We have one. We don't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, actually, I want to display the company address in one column, so that's fine. So basically, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cell. I need a 9th cell in here. And then here, just grab those. I'm just going to state those properties. Job title. Job title, company name. Then salary range. Company type, company experience label. Which property I'm missing? Company size. And then just to look at this table, make it nice. So you can use a table. Give CSS class table in maybe a border table or something like that. Okay, so if I just want to see how the heading looks like, that's okay. Okay, that looks okay. Here we need to one more columns here. We're gonna have action, we will have all the buttons and everything here. Okay, here is action column. This is th. All right. So this is the row, just a heading row. After that, we just have heading is done. We have table body, and we'll have table cell. So basically, I'm going to grab all of this here. And instead of TS, I'm going to make all of them TD. Oh. I'll replace that by TD. Okay, pretty cool. I wish it would do this side also, but for some reason it didn't do it. Okay, let's see how it look. Alright, looks good. Of course, as you might have guessed right now, of course, this is where, into the second row, this is where we'll do a binding. We basically iterate through all our objects here. So we're going to write nz4 directive let develop job of, I think at this point I'm going to look into my component. What did I name that property? As developer job plural. Okay. So I'm going to use this developer job first thing I want to display is a job title. Okay, things are looking good, right? It's coming along all right. So at this point right away, start displaying the job title. But my spelling is weird though. Let me go and change that job title. Is it job title? Next thing I need, just for now, I want to copy all of these and then change the name of the property one by one. And so I'm going to replace that, and I'm going to replace that, and replace that. I'm going to replace that, and let's change the industry to that. Replace that. Replace that. Replace that. And into action we'll have 3 buttons. So let's look into the UI. We basically we have a bunch of properties. Okay, next thing we need is a company name. Okay, so this actually, guys, this is where we will be continuing the next video tutorial. So into the action section, we will have 3 buttons here: one to edit, one to delete, and the one to go into detailed view of the job. So we will continue from next video tutorial. Thank you watching so much. Thank you for watching the videos and supporting me. I will be recording new videos soon.